Hello everyone, iExalt here and I'm back with a new Mass Effect Andromeda video. This time I'm bringing you a Platinum Duo, and this is the build I used. I spec point in everything except Incinerate. I want to use Flak Cannon for reasons that I'm going to explain in a moment. And ultimately, I also rely on aerial combat. The map we chose was Derelict because there was a challenge on it, and we chose the Remnant faction because, well, this is the faction I think I'm the most efficient against. We chose to stay in this area of the map. My friend, who by the way was sitting right next to me, focused on the corridor on the right, and I chose the corridor on the left. The first wave of the Remnant faction is the easiest wave in my opinion. The only foot units you have to deal with are addies. The rest is made of saboteurs, and usually they tend to come close to you, but they do not engage in close combat directly, less than the addie. So the only thing we had to care for was the addie in the end. My friend's build is based on snap freeze as well as fortification. He spec'd no point into shockwave, and his role will be to debuff enemies. So this is the little room I was talking about in my guiding platinum video. In this room you can clearly see that there are two saboteurs as well as two observers, and that they are stuck in there, you know. They are trying to shoot at us, but they can't because there's a wall. And that's why I think there's a hole in the wall, because basically they can't see us, but they shoot at us.
Intelligence needs data from your location.
The first objective we got was hack. And here is the proof that in a Platinum Duo you can clearly manage the hacking objective, provided you have good characters to do so, and provided you know all the units that you are going to be confronted to in the wave. In this wave, again, the only enemy we had to fear was the addie. Also, I was strongly relying on my friend to stay in the hacking zone, because as a result of staying in the air all the time, sometimes you are not hacking at all. So you have to jump, and midway in the air you stop, and well, it can work. In this run, I chose to stay with my favorite shotguns, the Piranha and the Crusader. The Piranha is a very effective weapon against destroyer, as you can see, because you can deal a huge amount of damage in a very short amount of time. So we finished hack, and by the time the hacking objective was complete, I had no flak cannon left, and I rely on my flak cannons to stagger the enemy. If you want to stagger a nullifier, you can throw flak cannons behind their backs, and usually that works. Whenever the destroyer is shooting, thanks to the Havoc Trooper, I managed to stay in the air, and its missiles cannot, reach me. So I can focus on dealing all the damage I want to his weak points, while he keeps shooting. I also use ammo consumable sometimes for express reloads. And yes, in this wave my friend dropped, but he told me, well, this is the end of the wave. Don't risk, going on the ground and being shot by the destroyer, because we want to save our medigels after all, even if we have good characters. So the third wave is my favorite wave because you don't have any observer. Instead of this, you have to deal with a few sharpshooters, but really they are not as dangerous as the observers. Instead, you have two berserkers, and berserkers are armored units, so are the nullifiers. So what we did was, basically, when we could, my friend was debuffing armored units with a snap freeze whenever he could, whenever he was looking in my way, and sometimes he was. And I would, finish them off, but he could also finish them off very rapidly because he was using disruptor rounds, and that is, probably the most efficient rounds you can use with your gun. In their little room, you can see that a nullifier is trying to shoot me. Well, nullifiers can shoot you through walls, so they don't really care. But again, this is another instance of why this room is very precious, except when you have nullifiers. But sometimes enemies like berserkers would get stuck in it, and that's very interesting when you have a solo run or a duo run, because that definitely makes life easier. The two enemies left in this wave are the destroyers. We prefer to finish with them simply because they are slower than the berserkers, obviously. And also because destroyers are very unfair enemies, because they keep shooting even if they have no targets. Depending on where you go on the map, it's like the sharpshooters. They can, sometimes shoot you when you don't see them. And that's very unfortunate when you get dropped because of it.
That hurt them. Be ready.
Now the fourth wave starts, and we know this is an objective wave, and the objective we got was devices. This is, by the way, our second playthrough. The first playthrough we had 3 consecutive upload or hacking objectives. And we simply did not manage this the way we should have. Well, we probably were too confident in ourselves, to be honest. Devices is an objective that I really fear when I play solo, especially with a kit like this, because of the breaches.
One device down.
The breaches can really surprise you. If they are passive, it's good, but when they start being, nervous, that's really annoying. They can prevent you from doing your work, and that's something, again, you don't want, especially with the time we get to have. Depending on the objective we get, we would have focused fire on a different target. For example, the Blaze Hydra. The Blaze Hydra can respawn one more time if you kill it, but then it will not respawn. So if you have to do hack or upload, you simply focus fire on the Blaze Hydra. The Blaze Hydra will come to you anyway, and you kill it twice. And then, it's good. If you have debuffing abilities like Snap Freeze or Invasion, it's good. The Blaze Hydra can be destroyed really, really fast.
That hurt them. Be ready.
And now the fifth wave begins.
Enemies incoming.
The fifth wave is the boss wave with the Remnants. There is a progenitor on the field, but if you don't bother it, it won't attack you. Well, some people call that the progenitor glitch. I'm not sure about this. Anyway, in this playthrough, the progenitor came to visit. In our first playthrough, the progenitor had spawned on the very other side of the map, so we did not really have to face it at all, and we saved it for the end. So we, ended the wave by killing it, killing the progenitor. Black Cannon is one of the abilities that I use to stagger saboteurs. This is very useful, especially knowing that I have another power that I can use in case of emergency. As you know, saboteurs can can restore their shields by stealing yours. And when they do so, you want to use Flak Cannon, not Incinerate. Incinerate will not, stagger the saboteurs. But Flak Cannon does not take into account whether the enemy is shielded or not. Anointed, for example, will also be staggered by Flak Cannon, or more importantly, Berserkers, leaving us time to freeze them, debuff them, and finally kill them. And now that the progenitor is coming, we are leaving this place to get to another place. And believe it or not, but we follow a route. Because the progenitor can spawn many observers at the same time. Even if I can kill them all by using Flak Cannon the way I do, causing the progenitor to open its mouth again, and so on and so forth, it's very dangerous even for my friend. Especially, in fact, for my friend. It can get dropped very rapidly, and even if I'm the one getting dropped here,
Teammate injured.
We have played together for a long time now, for several months now, and yeah, well, it's not the first time it gets dropped by the progenitor, because the progenitor is very predictable, but whenever it creates observers, knowing that it can create up to 4 observers, then it's a mess.
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
So even if the progenitor came to us, we managed to save it for the end, so that we didn't have to face any other progenitor. And well, if you want to know more about the progenitor on wave 5, if you focus fire on it, you can kill up to 5 progenitor on wave 5. Didn't manage 6, but well, recently I've managed 5, and
Sources say key data is scattered around this area. Find and
So this is the hacking point we had, and because the universe can have a very silly sense of humor, we had the exact same area to hack as during our first playthrough. The first thing I did was to make the Hydra blind, you know. It's one Cobra only. And that's something you want to do as quick as possible for you as well as for your teammates. At this precise moment when the Blaze Hydra was killed, I told my friend go away, and this is what it did. And if I did so, it's because the Blaze Hydra, when you kill it, instead of having another Blaze Hydra, you have 2 Berserkers spawning, meaning that you can have up to 4 Berserkers on the field. And I mean, this is outright impossible if you don't manage them the way you should. And as you can see, even if I can deal with them, it's very hard to kill them, and they keep coming all the time. But my friend was going through much of the aggro, and this is, well, this is why the hacking objective is doing fine as of now. And the Turian Havoc Soldier should not fear Destroyer at all. I mean, Destroyers, she can just, you know, kill them almost in the blink of an eye. It's really impressive, and if you know, use a consumable like combat power amp, it's even better, but I prefer to use quantity over quality. You know, I prefer to be spamming my power on a duo or on a solo, rather than have really effective power. Flak Cannon is really my emergency exit when I have to stagger enemy, even if it does not automatically work sometimes. You know, it just glitches. You don't even understand why. But most of the time it does, and with the Berserkers it's especially efficient. As you can see, I'm dealing with 2 destroyers at the same time. I got killed, but I can assure you that most of the time I don't get killed. I don't really understand why that happened, but I told my friend the same thing he told me on wave 2. I told him, well, let me die, let me bleed out. I don't really care, the wave is over. Now wave 7, you don't have many enemies to begin with, but depending on your actions, it can be really easy or it can be a real mess. Let me explain. You have to fight 2 destroyers to begin with, as well as 1 progenitor. So yeah, that makes 3 big things on the field. And these destroyers have purple nameplates. You have a couple of addies hanging around. But most importantly, if you kill the destroyer, the 2 of them, eventually a progenitor will respawn. And you can have up to 3 progenitor on the field at the same time. I think the cap for the destroyer on wave 7 is 3, and because there are 2 destroyers at the beginning of the wave, you kill one respawns, and then if you kill the second, a progenitor will respawn. In this example, I think this progenitor respawned when I killed the destroyer a moment ago. So that's why I focus fire on it, even if we still have 1 minute before extraction, because I did not want the progenitor to surprise us when we had to leave. Well, I'm not sure whether that progenitor spawned when I killed the destroyer, but... Oh yeah, and there's 1 ascendant, I forgot that. Yeah, both of us got killed at the very, in the 11th hour, And the Ascendant, who also has a funny sense of humor, grabbed me while I was in the air. Fortunately, sync kill does not exist anymore in Mass Effect Andromeda. Well, unless glitched. So this was our Platinum duo. If you want to know more about the build that my friend used, I can tell you more about this. It's as simple as spam snap freeze and don't detonate snap freeze right away. Use the debuffing effect of snap freeze and voila. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to do that at home, you can. There was no modifier on this mission. And we did that together in less than 20 minutes. So well, have fun and see you in the next video. Bye.